Well, good morning to everyone, and thank you for having me here. I'm very honored to be at this European Lunar Symposium 2024. I'm here wanting to tell you a bit of the Italian initiatives for the robotic exploration of the lunar surface, which we are, that's the main topic of this symposium. Of course, many things have already been said, so I'm trying to not talk more about what other colleagues and other agencies representatives have said. But in this frame, I prepared a slide regarding all the initiatives that agencies and private providers have planned or have already done in this decade or planned in the future. And this is just to give, to understand the effort that everybody is putting on the exploration of the moon for this decade and later. And the thing that I want to highlight here is that all the missions that have been planned, or some have already been performed, others just planned, but they all involve, or most of them involve, landers and rovers. So real exploration of the surface, trying to understand the characteristics of the surface in terms of craters, and lava tubes and everything else. So to really understand what we are going to face when we are on the surface. In this regard, the Italian Space Agency has many destinations, many objectives that we want to satisfy. And of course, the destinations are very broad. So we have all the exploration for asteroids, Mars, the contribution to ISS, but moon exploration is very key. Has a very key role for our initiatives and for our missions. And in this frame, of course, as a member state of ESA, we participate in all the four cornerstones that mark the effort of ESA in exploring, not only the moon but also Mars and the contribution for human exploration. But regarding the lunar robotic exploration, we of course participate and support the ESA program too. So in order to give a whole overview of what the Italian Space Agency is doing, not only with the national initiatives, but also with bilateral accords and participation to ESA programs, this slide tries to capture all of these. And maybe I forgot something, but this is just to give a whole idea that we are involved in several programs. So as I said, participating in supporting the European Space Agency program, like in the Lunar Gateway or with the Argonaut Initiative, and many others. On the other hand, we also have bilateral agreement with other space agencies, such as NASA, of course, regarding the MPH multipurpose habitat module that Lori, I think, mentioned before, as well as, for example, the LUGRE initiative for the Lunar GSS receiver experiment. But not only that, because we also have our own initiatives that we are doing on our own, of course, like the surface operations on the lunar surface for the ISRU activity, as well as this side here, the establishment of a lunar infrastructure for mission control center and simulation in Italy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about all these initiatives and give you an overview of some of these missions. Starting with Lumio, which is an ESA mission in which ASI and Politecnico of Milan coordinate an international science team. The objective of this mission is to develop a CubeSat, which will be sent to Earth Moon L2 to observe, quantify, and characterize the meteoroid impacts on the far side of the moon by detecting the impact flashes. This is an IOD Pathfinder mission, and it started in the CDF of ESA, and then is now currently in its phase B. And its launch is supposed to be around 2026 and operating for at least 1 year. Later, we have, as I mentioned before, Lugre, which is a bilateral, developed under a bilateral agreement with NASA to develop a GNSS receiver that will detect GNSS signals from the lunar surface, also on the troposphere, but mainly on the lunar surface. It's going to be a payload of the Firefly Blue Ghost lander under the Eclipse missions that I think a presentation is foreseen later. So the whole initiative stands in that frame. And also here we have an important contribution because CASCOM is developing the receiver, and there's going to be a support from Polytechnic of Turin, a scientific support for the data managing. Under the bilateral agreement, ASI is also since signed in June 2022, the Artemis Accords is developing the multipurpose habitat module that should be one of the key nodes in the Artemis architecture, as said before. So with the objective not only to host astronauts, but also to host payloads and to perform scientific experiment and technological experiment in the frame of the whole Artemis architecture. Then we also have our national initiatives, starting with EMM. Sorry, there is a, okay, the banner up there covers the title, but EMM that stands for Earth, Moon, Mars, as you can see in the logo here. And this is gonna be, thank you very much. This is aimed to be a lunar infrastructure for scientific and technological payloads. ASI participates here as a co-PI together with the International Institute of Astrophysics and CNR. And this is going to be developed in order to foster and to sustain and enable the human presence not only on the moon, but also on the future and on Mars. Other Italian initiatives are, just a second, I cannot change slide now. Okay, thank you very much. The Oracle technological demonstrator that I'm not going to talk about much about it now, since a presentation is scheduled for Friday, so stay tuned if you want to know more. Anyway, this is developed together with the Polytechnic of Milan, and it aims at extracting oxygen from lunar regolith for producing water on the moon. So it's very important to us in the frame also of what was said before regarding the ISRU and the exploitation of lunar of resources for oxygen and water production on the moon in order to enable the future human presence. And last but not least, we have a lunar surface robotic mission, which is kind of our way to let's say, participate in the surface robotic exploration of the moon. This is because we have a very long heritage regarding the landers and the access to the moon, developed in many years of either participation participating in the ESA ExoMars program, but also with many studies that have been performed. Since we understand that in the future, let's say the exploration of either regions on the moon, such as PSRS, but also lava tubes, is going to be crucial for the sustaining of human presence, since, for example, lava tubes are supposed to have a mild temperature and provide a natural shield for radiation. We would like to let's say, develop a mission in order to explore one of these, let's say, characteristic or let's say features of the lunar surface. And in this context, we want to design and implement a primarily international mission in which ASI is the lead, but we also look for cooperation with other agencies or partners to to make let's say, to overcome the many challenges that we foresee and that are present and that we want to share in order to reach the greater objectives. Currently, the whole initiative should be starting soon, actually. We are funding 2 mission studies in phase A, and then at the end, that will last 1 year each. And then at the end, we will choose the one that, according to us, will accomplish the objectives that we would like to let's say, to proceed with. And then the other part of the initiatives that still need to be approved will proceed for, let's say, the whole years after 2028. We understand that in order to do all of these, of course, it is necessary to have some infrastructure to test and to simulate the environment. And for this reason, as I mentioned earlier, we are also supporting the building of an infrastructure in the Altec facilities in Turin, which will host not only a lunar mission control center to coordinate all the payloads and the missions that we are willing to send, but also a lunar terrain simulator to host regolith and to perform testing activities, to host lunar simulant, of course, and to perform testing activities on rovers, for example, for the mechanisms, but also to understand the mission scenario that we could be facing. And in this context, we also would like to include a lunar environment simulator as a thermovacuum chamber, dirty thermovacuum chamber, to simulate some aspects, for example, the one related to the ISRU demonstrator. I'm just going to conclude because in order to do all of these, we not only need an infrastructure, but we need many, many competencies in different topics. And for this reason, in ASI, we started last year with one workshop dedicated to the descent and landing technologies that we recognize is quite important in order to access the lunar surface. It is not very easy, as we all know. Many attempts were made. Some were completely successful, some were not. And so we understand the importance of developing this technology. For this reason, we involved the whole research institutes and industry from Italy to cooperate, to be present, to cooperate with each other, to share knowledge, and mainly to understand in which areas we need to put more effort in order to develop these technologies. We also made a survey, which I'm not going to talk about because I'm running out of time, but many results were gathered in this frame. And our idea is actually to repeat this cycle of workshop dedicated to different topics, for example, mobility one, in order to understand which kind of mobility elements could be used in which scenario in order to continue exploring the moon and to understand which objectives, to set our objectives, but we understand which kind of technologies could achieve those. And with this, thank you very much for the attention, and I'm here for any question.
Okay, we have time for a quick question. When is the workshop going to take place?
Next one is still to be settled, actually.
Can you tell me who is doing the studies of your lunar lander?
In the frame of the robotic exploration mission? Well, for now, we selected two companies in Italy, which are, which should develop let's say, the concept of the mission. So we are not choosing who's gonna do what. We are deciding on that later, but of course, depending on what they say and what the mission concept should be, we may look outside and understand, who's gonna do what.